The Department of Homeland Security is tasked with the overall safety and security of the United States. Last week, the department revealed a new mission statement. With honor and integrity, we will safeguard the American people, our homeland, and our values. One risk to the homeland is an electromagnetic pulse, is a burst of electromagnetic radiation that results from suddenly fluctuating magnetic fields. An EMP can be either man-made or natural and can damage high-voltage transformers and possibly contribute to grid failure and electric power blackouts. EMPs are considered a high-impact yet low-probability risk occurrence. As DHS tries to prioritize its efforts across a wide spectrum of potential dangers to the nation, it should take seriously all risks impacting the homeland, not only EMPs, but also climate change impacts, solar storms, and a wide range of natural disasters. Last month, the Government Accountability Office released a report reviewing the department's assessment and coordination efforts in the EMP space. According to GAO, DHS components, including MPPD, FEMA, and S&T, conduct independent activities addressing EMPs, including research and development, stakeholder coordination, and mitigation. However, no specific component has been tasked with lead responsibility for coordinating activities within the department or with federal and industry stakeholders. Further, the department has not fully leveraged opportunities to collect key inputs often used in a risk assessment, such as threat, vulnerability, and consequences information. Risk assessments are a beneficial means of incorporating methods or tools to reach a specific identifiable conclusion. Specifically, with the use of a risk assessment, the department can better characterize the risk of EMPs in the overall protection mission. In 2007, this committee passed the 9/11 Commission Act, which required the department to produce the Quadrennial Homeland Security Review, a document produced every 4 years for the purpose of comprehensively examining the department's Homeland Security strategy and risk priorities.
We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves. We making major moves. We going all in. Like we got nothing to lose. We making moves. We making major moves.
What is up, everybody? I'm Mr. Man. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about critical infrastructure. You heard the introduction there, the lady talking about EMPs have the ability to take out critical infrastructure, and then from there we're jumping on to the CPMI, Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructure. Are they related? We'll find out. Let's do this. In 2001, the U.S. was tasked to create an EMP commission, a commission to assist the threat to the United States from electromagnetic pulse attacks. The EMP commission was established pursuant to the Title 10 for 14 of the Floyd D. Spencer National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2021. The nature and magnitude of potential high altitude EMP threats to the U.S. from all potentially hostile states or non-state actors that have or could acquire nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles, enabling them to perform a high altitude EMP attack against the U.S. within the next 15 years. How specific? The vulnerability of the U.S. military and especially civilian systems to an EMP attack, giving special attention to vulnerability of the civilian infrastructure as a matter of emergency preparedness. The capability of the U.S. to repair and recover from damage inflicted on U.S. military and civilian systems by an EMP attack, and the feasibility and cost of hardening select military and civilian systems against EMP attacks. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So I dropped this just last night, I believe it was, and then this individual right here, boss level on Twitter, had added more to that. Let's jump into what he says here. He's like, whoa, chapter 4 on banking and finance from the full document report has catastrophic warnings of an EMP. If an EMP hits the financial sector, would be easy to blame it on geomagnetic solar storms. Let's see what it goes on to say. Okay, so the Department of Homeland Security, the FRB, and the Department of Treasury, in cooperation with other relevant agencies, must develop contingency plans to survive and recover financial systems promptly from an EMP attack. Key financial services include the means and resources that provide the general population with cash, credit, and other liquidity required to buy essential goods and services. It is essential to protect the nation's financial networks, banking records, and data retrieval systems that support cash, check, credit, debit, and other transactions through judicious balance of hardening, redundancy, and contingency planning. The federal government must work with the private sector to ensure the protection and effective recovery of essential financial records and service infrastructure systems from all deliberate adverse events, including EMP attacks. Implementation of the recommendations made by the Department of Treasury, the FRB, and that's the Federal Reserve of Boston, and the SEC in their interagency paper and sound practices to strengthen the resilience of the U.S. financial system to meet sabotage and cyber threats could engender requirements for protection and recovery should be expanded to include expeditious recovery from EMP attacks as follows. Every organization in the financial services industry should identify and clearly clearing and settlement activities in each critical financial market in which it is a core clearing and settlement organization or plays a significant role that could be threatened by EMP attack. Industry should determine appropriate recovery and resumption objectives for clearing and settlement activities in support of critical markets following an EMP attack. Industry should be prepared to cope with an EMP attack by maintaining sufficient geographically dispersed resources to meet recovery and resumption. Unless directed by federal authority to create contingency plans for operating without electricity, it is doubtful the business community would undertake such plans on its own. This immediately talking about offline payment reminds me of Project Polaris. Just jumping over here quickly, Project Polaris by the BIS here, secure and resilient CBDC systems offline and online. Just a quick brief, Project Polaris from the BIS Innovation Hub Nordic Center is focused on designing secure and resilient CBDC systems online and offline over several work streams. Project Polaris will provide central banks with the essential information needed to inform decision-making, architecture design, implementation planning, and investments. It will also address long-term change and operational resilience. And here you have the different PDFs or breakdowns of how a operational resilient online and offline could look through Project Polaris. Jumping back. In the aftermath of an EMP attack, individuals and corporations would have many sound reasons for being cautious, risk-averse, and unwilling to resume business as usual. Once power, telecommunication, and transportation are restored, even if restored promptly within a matter of days, psychological concerns that affect economical revitalization may linger. Full recovery will require restoring and trust and confidence of the business community in the infrastructure, in financial institutions, and in the future. The Great Depression outlasted its proximate causes by many years, despite strenuous efforts by the federal government to implement financial reforms and jumpstart the economy, in part because businesses are unwilling to risk their capital in a system that had lost their confidence. The Department of Treasury and the SEC share the view that failure of electronic systems supporting the critical infrastructure for even one business day threatens the financial system with wide-scale disruption and risk to one or more critical markets. Indeed, the interagency paper on sound practices to strengthen the resilience of the U.S. financial system by the Department of Treasury and SEC advocates the overall goal of achieving recovery and resumption within 2 hours after an event. So, with the overall goal of achieving recovery and resumption within 2 hours. Okay, so that's it. Okay. In light of the large volume and value of transaction payments that are cleared and settled on a daily basis, failure to complete the clearing and settling of pending transaction within the business day could create systemic liquidity dislocations, as well as exacerbate credit and market risk for critical infrastructure. What does that mean? This is why you have clearing and settling structures such as SEBI in India moving to T+0, which means instant, immediate settlement. You have Canada and US, I believe in Mexico too, in May 28th, 2024, moving to T+1 settlement. 1 day settlement at that point. So, partial or small scale disruption of the financial infrastructure would probably be enough to bring about a major economic crisis. Non-functioning ATM machines, for example, and other impediments to obtain cash might well undermine consumer confidence in the banking system and cause a panic. So what are they telling you there? Make sure you have cash on hand. NSTAC observes the ultimate purpose behind all the financial industry's security efforts is to retain consumer confidence. The ability of an institution to maintain the trust and hence the business of its consumers is viewed as an even greater value than the dollars and cents involved. A related NAS study concludes that an attack that destroys only electronic records would be catastrophic and irreversible, which is where the blockchain comes in now. Although it is highly unlikely that stored financial data on magnetic media would be damaged by EMP, the electronic system for retrieving data are potentially vulnerable to EMP, and which is why, okay, does it seem like Ripple is getting prepared for something here? XRP Ledger Validator reveals it utilizes former nuclear bunker. Okay? TOWO Labs, the software team behind the XRP toolkit and development partner of Flare Blockchain, disclosed its most unusual validator. Is it an unusual validator with what we're talking about here? Launched in 2019, the TOWO Labs developed software and hardware infrastructure. Okay, that's not one important. According to the latest Twitter thread by TOWO Labs team in 2021, it runs an XRP validator in the Pionen White Mountains in Sweden. The data center that hosts the hardware to its validator is situated 30 meters beneath the streets of Stockholm in a former nuclear bunker. This Pionen data center is operated by the oldest Sweden-based internet services provider, Bahnhof, to ensure the high uptime and full finality of XRP Ledger transactions. TOWO Labs purchased impressive capacities. Namely, the company obtained a bare metal server featuring a 3.4 gigahertz hexa-core CPU, 64 gig DDR RAM, mirrored solid-state drivers, and redundant power supply units. This massive hardware kit is connected to the internet through 1 gigabits per second network link. Just jumping back now, equity markets closed 4 days until September 15th due to failed telecommunication. The NYSE, New York Stock Exchange, could not reopen because key central offices were destroyed or damaged, leaving them unable to support operations. According to this senior government official, Fedwire, CHIPS, and SWIFT would cease operation if telecommunication were disrupted. He further observed that ACH, ATMs, and credit and debit cards all depend on telecommunication. Disruption of these systems would force consumers to revert to cash economy. That's why you need cash on hand, because if or when this happens, you want to be prepared. Further response to the Northeast power outage in August 2003 has been depicted as a triumph for the financial services industry. Safeguards implemented since the terrorist attack of September 11th. But this is not the whole picture. Some analysts observed that the blackout happened under nearly ideal conditions to facilitate financial industry recovery. The blackout happened on a Thursday at 4 p.m. After the 4 p.m. closing time for financial markets. and it was largely over the financial industry by 9 a.m. the following Friday morning. Business was also light, and its nadir is as is usual during August. So now jumping forward here, this is the Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructure, the CPMI, with the BIS here. These are your committee members here. So Cross-Border Payments Interoperability and Extensions Task Force composition. We have the chair, we have Ulrich Bensel, he has some great videos out there. Here's the task force members. The one I want you guys to look at right here. Renee Hodgson, the Director of Payment Operations, Ripple. Zain Ahmed, Real-Time Rails Director, Payments Canada. We have MasterCard there. Iberpay, Finality, EBA Clearing, RTGS, Swift, the Clearinghouse, Worldline, Africa's Fast Payment System, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, Bank of China, Commonwealth of Australia, Deutsche Bank, Mercado Pago, Mukuru, RIA, Societe Generale, Wells Fargo, Wise, Nubank. That is what Warren Buffett invested in. Africa, Nenda, Emerging Payments Asia, European Payments Institute Federation, the Institute of International Finance, Japan Bankers Association, UK Finance, GSM, and SADC, the SADC Association. So we see Ripple is involved already in this new market infrastructure. Why do you think Ripple is being held up and entangling with the SEC right now? Again, it's all by design because we're waiting for specific things to happen. Let's find out what some of those specific things are. So this here is a paper put up by the Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructure and the BIS. So the G20 has thus identified the governance and oversight of cross-border payment systems, interlinking arrangements. So there are systems being interlinked together. In particular, of FPS, Faster Payment System, is a priority action in helping to achieve its 2027 cross-border payments targets. So by 2027, sometime, probably by end of the year, 2027, these new faster payment systems will be connected together. So given the topic's complexity and the need for intense engagements with global stakeholders, a 2-year time frame for completion of this priority action has been set. The Bank for International Settlements Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructure plans to deliver a final report by the end of 2024. This interim report to the G20 is intended to be an update focused on the CPMI's engagement to date. So, furthermore, and depending on the design, the FPS, Faster Payment System, interlinking arrangements may involve the establishment of a new entity to operate the technical connectors. For example, a hub or a common platform for FX swap providers to provide currency conversions for arrangements with such a service provider and settlement agents. So a new agent would be created to establish and host these interconnecting of the fast payments and act as a hub at that point. So they're going to have the fast payments within Africa, and that goes out to the African interconnections. Then you have, it could be another one or the same hub in Africa, which goes cross-border now, all right? And then you have an individual new entity acting as a hub, which connects to these for the fast payments, all right? This is how this is going down here. This is how this is going down here. So now that we have that looked after, I want to take you guys just veering off topic here. This is the last thing I want to show you. I want to keep this video short and sweet. I want to talk to you guys about Raytheon here. We're talking about infrastructure, okay? So Raytheon, former major U.S. defense contractor and industrial corporation, founded July 7th, 2019 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Raytheon is a major American aerospace and defense technology company that was founded in 1922 and is headquartered in Massachusetts. Raytheon was originally established... Okay. Raytheon is the developer and manufacturer of a wide range of defense and aerospace electronics, including radars, sensors, missiles, communication systems, and satellite components. During World War II, Raytheon played a key role in mass producing the magnetron, a critical component for a radar system. This helped establish the company as a leader in the defense system. In the 90s, Raytheon expanded its defense business significantly through acquisition of Chrysler's Defense Electronics, Texas Instruments Defense Unit, and Hughes Electronics. In 2020, Raytheon merged with United Technologies Corporation to form Raytheon Technologies, which is now one of the largest aerospace and defense companies in the world. Raytheon generates over 90% of its revenues from military contracts and is one of the top defense contractors globally. As of 2015, it was the third largest defense contractor in the U.S. So, that being said, we're flipping over to this right here. I want you to hear this and listen very carefully, okay? You're going to hear some things like you have never heard in your life. I'm being serious. You have never heard this stuff before.
I'd like to introduce Eric Hecker. He's a Raytheon contractor based for about a year at the South Pole. He was involved in a neutrino light array. He has an enormous amount of information, but in the interest of time, we'll be brief. Thank you, Mr. Hecker.
Hello, everybody. Ladies, gentlemen, members of the press. I'm very happy that you're giving me this attention and this information attention because it needs to get out to the world. I will start, since we have to be brief. I have already given all pertinent information and supporting documentation to the Senate Intelligence Committee and AARO. They informed me that all of my information will be recorded for public record and shared with Congress. It is that important. In 2010, I was selected to go down to the South Pole Station in Antarctica for an entire year by Raytheon Polar Services as an employee of a third-party contractor for the National Science Foundation. I function in a dual-role capacity as a tradesman and a firefighter. My responsibilities required me to be more informed than most of my crew and offered me complete access to the facilities. What I learned from this unique experience needs to be shared with the entire world. The technology at the South Pole Station certainly can do what it is presented as its primary purposes, and unfortunately, much more. The Ice Cube Neutrino Detector is presented as a passive listening device for the purposes of the science as presented. But I'm going to skip right through the chase, folks. I have provided documentation that proves that the 5,160, what they call DOMs, that are embedded in the ice can actually transmit at 2,047 volts each. That gives us a long list of things to consider. It is effectively a multifaceted directed energy weapons platform that I will list rapidly a few things that it can do. Vehicle detection. We're learning that these off-world craft, on-world craft, ours or other nations, are also emitting neutrinos. So this makes the South Pole Station effectively an air traffic control station for this new level of equipment that nobody's discussing. In addition to the ability to detect neutrinos and the exotic vehicles, I have provided documentation that shows that this is also a system for faster than light communications. In the past, Gary McKinnon has hacked NASA, found the off-world fleet, the list of captains, and it's apparent that if we have faster than light vehicles moving throughout this system, we're going to need faster than light communications. This is that facility. Unfortunately, I have other bad news. The season that I was there, 2010 to 2011, we converted from construction to operations and maintenance in both the elevated station and the detector array. Unfortunately, when they first fired it up, that was when we had the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. There was 2 incidental shots before they were able to target it correctly. This is an earthquake generating device as well. This is the weapons of war that we have to deal with now and what Raytheon's hiding. There's an ELF system at the South Pole Station that when I arrived, I was told it was off, dismantled, and completely defunct. In my work, I will rapidly just tell you, I had to figure out the circuitry for certain other repairs, and I found that this system is in fact completely energized, up and running, and being utilized with the other systems for nefarious purposes as well. The Atmospheric Research Observatory is in what we call the clean air sector. I witnessed myself a very powerful green laser shooting out of the top of this facility into the cosmos. This, I believe, is a secondary form of long-range communications and or a defense system. I am not saying that we need to be scared of anything that's out there, but please understand the military-industrial complex is happy to invest all of your money in alleviating their fears. A question of power comes into play for all of these facilities that are present. I assure you, I knew what was going on, I knew the load demands of the facility, and all of these new items exceed the demand for the systems that I was presented. I am doing due diligence and research. I believe there is either a secondary power supply there that is either nuclear, that was there prior to the start of the Antarctic Treaty, which prohibits such things, and or that there is some sort of exotic power supply system there that just is not in the verbiage of the treaty, so it negates the responsibility to the parties involved. I think that pretty much covers it for time. If anybody wants to find out more, I have a website where all this information is at. For brevity, I'll wrap it up, but you can go to deciphering.tv. I've documented all of this stuff, and information is available.
So there you have it. Weapons like you didn't even know existed, all right, that are actually real earthquake makers. Off-Earth vehicles, right? We're not just talking about like Elon's rocket ship, Falcon X or whatever the hell it's called. Anyways, back on topic here. I hope you guys found value in this video. As always, I'll see you on the next one.
We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves.